We'll give it 2-3 more minutes and then we'll get started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरम् नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्या प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। I humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas on the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. We are continuing our study of of the Bhakti Vaibhav course, and we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam right now. And the chapter that we are doing is conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva. So anyone remembers what happened to Narada's life after he got the darshan of the Lord? So you all know that Narada Muni was reciting his own experience, his own life experiences to Vyasadeva. And he mentioned that in his previous birth, he was born as the son of a Shudra, and he got an opportunity to take the remnants of the Bhakti Vedantas just once. And by their mercy, he learned how he must practice the path of devotion. And by chance, one day when he was young, his mother was bit by a snake and she died. And after that, he walked towards the north and he began to perfect his life. So after he saw the Lord face to, he saw the Lord, he got the darshan of the Lord. All his senses, spiritual senses, were enlivened, and the Lord spoke to him. The Lord told him that this is only one darshan that you will get. You will not be able to see me again in this particular life. So in your next life, you will be your prema, which is now in an infant stage. will become fully mature. So that is what the Lord said, and the Lord left. So then, what happened to the rest of Narada Muni's life? How did he pass it? What did he do? Anyone would like to tell? That's what was covered in the previous class. What else Narada Muni did after he got the darshan of the Lord? Anybody? How did he pass his time? Yes, Saudamani Mataji, as expected.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam. Yeah, after he got instruction from the Lord, Narad Muni was he repeatedly chanted the Lord's holy name.
Correct.
Yeah, and then he left his body in Bhagavatam ki said Tarit Sodamini Yatha. So very quickly he left his body and he attained the his spiritual body.
Correct. Very nice.
And then he is a liberated spaceman. He got this blessing. He could travel everywhere in the universe.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this much.
Wonderful. So we see Narada followed the instructions of the Lord, right? Very, very clearly, he followed the different instructions of the Lord. The Lord asked him to continue glorifying, to continue the path of devotional service. So we see in verses 26 and 27 that he continuously chanted the holy names of the Lord. So that is how he attained perfection. He chanted the holy name and fame, ignoring all formalities of the material world, and he traveled being satisfied, humble, and non envious. These were the qualities that he developed. He was self satisfied, he was humble, and he was non envious. And more importantly, he was chanting the holy names. That's why even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi Sunichena, Taruriva Sahishnuna, Amani Namanadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. Even to constantly chant the holy names of the Lord, one should be in a humble state of mind. Otherwise, it is very difficult actually to constantly chant the holy names of the Lord. Yeah, so one should be like the blade of grass and tolerant like a tree. Otherwise, the holy names of the Lord is very difficult to vibrate, truly vibrate in your tongue. Yeah. So that's how he developed these qualities. He was satisfied, humble, non envious, and he was continuously chanting the holy names of the Lord. And eventually, he got detached from all material attachments and he met with death. And as the Lord had already promised earlier, he develops his Siddhadeha, which is actually his body as Narada Muni, and he comes out from the body of Brahma as one of the Manas Putras of Brahma, and he's able to travel all around the world. He's a liberated spaceman, not any ordinary spaceman. He's completely liberated. Okay, so without any restriction, he's able to travel through all the planetary systems. And the best part is he's able to maintain unbroken devotional service. At no point is his devotional service challenged. Sometimes we advance a little bit in bhakti, and then we have a small distraction and everything is gone. Right? It was not like that in the case of Narada Muni. So Narada Muni, he had unbroken devotional service, and he tells the power of chanting, interestingly. He tells the power of chanting in verses 32 and 33. He says, I travel constantly singing this Harikatha and playing my veena that was gifted by the Lord. And as soon as I chant, the Lord, whose activities are very pleasing to hear, at once appears in my heart as if called for. Actually, that is the process also given to us, right? We are asked to chant the holy names of the Lord. So, when you chant the holy names of the Lord, of course, not that I have experienced, but at least in theory, we can know this Nam, Shuddha Nam, transports into Rupa. And then you have Guna, and then you have Leela. Nam, Roop, Guna, Leela. So you're able to experience all of this when you chant the holy names of the Lord. It's very, very potent. So that's what Narada Muni is telling. At once, the Lord appears in my heart as if called for. That is the power of chanting the holy names. And then in this verse, he continues. He continues to tell what is this Hari Katha and holy names of the Lord, what is the power of it. So that is text number 34, with which we will start today. Etadhi
I
atura.
thought 33 was we have to start from, I thought.
Really?
Yeah, in recording I heard 33 was we were supposed to start.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, Mataji. 33.
Okay, she said 34. So anyway, yeah, 33, no problem. प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि तीर्थपादप्रियश्रवाः आहूत इव मे शीघ्रं दर्शनं याति चेतसि. This is the last point I was making. So, darshanam yati chetasi. That means immediately, very soon, shigram, he was able to get darshan. How was he able to get darshan? Simply because Pragayataha, he was singing. What was he singing? Swaviryani, the activities of the Lord. Who's this Lord? Pada. Pada means the Lord whose lotus feet is the source of all different virtues and purity. Okay, holiness. So that is Pada. So Pragayataha Swaviryani Pada Priyashravaha. Priyashravaha means the Lord's activities are so pleasing to hear. So he kept on chanting the holy names of the Lord and the activities of the Lord, which is purifying by itself. And because of that, Ahutaha, as called for, immediately, Ahuta ivame shigram, very, very soon, Darshanam yati chetasi. He was able to get darshan of the Lord, like as if called for. That is the perfection that he achieved in this body. So what is Narada Muni doing? He's constantly singing the name and the glories of the Lord. Translation. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart as if called for, as soon as I begin to chant his holy activities. So this is what Narada Muni is telling. And Prabhupada, in the purport, he says, see, the supreme absolute truth, Krishna is non-different from his name. We all know that. Krishna is non-different from his name. But he's also non-different from his form, his pastimes, and the sound vibrations thereof. Nam, Roop, Guna, Leela. He's non-different from all of these. And as soon as a pure devotee engages in chanting the holy name, or he's hearing about the Lord, he's remembering the name, the activities, the glories of the Lord. Immediately, what happens? The Lord becomes visible to the eyes of the pure devotee. Just like how, here a beautiful analogy is given, that by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by a spiritual television. So we all have televisions at home, and when we switch on the remote, the television appears and we can see so many images in front of us. But look at how the power of bhakti is. When you hear, chant, or glorify the Lord with pure devotion, with Shuddha Bhakti, at that time, the Lord, He is reflected. His form is reflected on the mirror of the heart, like as if it's a spiritual television. You can immediately see the Lord as if called for. So this happens to a pure devotee. Therefore, a pure devotee who is always in the loving service of the Lord, he can experience the Lord at every moment. This was also the case of the gopis of Vrindavan. So we all know Krishna left the gopis of Vrindavan, right? When he was around 10 years old or something, Akrura came and he took away Krishna. Then what happened to the gopis? They were constantly thinking of Krishna. So much so, they would relish that love in separation. Why they would relish that love in separation? Because in their separation, they were envisioning union. They thought about the Lord, they chanted his holy names, and they were singing his glories constantly, so much so that the Lord would appear in the mirror of their hearts, and they would feel like as if they are experiencing the Lord directly. So there is Prakat and Aprakat Leela of the Lord. Prakat means that which is happening when the Lord is present in this world. When he appeared 5,000 years ago, when Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, people who were there, they were able to see his Prakat Leela. But then what is Aprakat Leela? The Lord is not personally present. He is present in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. But still Leela is happening. That Leela, where he is not present in front of your eyes, he's not incarnated and he has come and he's present in front of your eyes, but still the Leela is going. That is called as Aprakat Leela. So Aprakat Leela happens in two places. One is in Goloka Vrindavan, Nitya Leela is happening. And the other place is in the hearts of the devotees, like the gopis of Vrindavan, because actually they are seeing the Lord. And it is not that it is an illusion, okay. Maybe they are having some hallucination or something like that. It's not like that. Actually, the Lord is present. He's performing a Prakat Leela. Even to this day in Bhauma Vrindavan, that is in the Vrindavan that is near Delhi, Krishna is performing Leela. And the great devotees, the great bhaktas, they are able to envision and see the Leelas performed by the Lord. But you should have the spiritual vision. We should have that sadhana and that purity to see the Lord performing his Leela in front of our eyes. So there are many devotees who have reported to have seen so many beautiful Leelas of the Lord. Even now when you go to Vrindavan and you talk to some devotees, they're very confident. Oh yeah, Krishna just left. He just performed his morning Leela and he went to some other place. So they're so confident, they will tell you like that. We also read stories of Srila Rup Goswami and others who were actually seeing these Leelas. Like once Rupa Goswami, he was seeing a very funny exchange between Radha and Krishna, and he started laughing. And there was a lame man who walked by and he got offended, thinking that Rupa Goswami is laughing at him. So these devotees, they can enter into Leelas. We know the story of Shyamananda Pandit. It's a very famous story of how he found the ankle bell of Srimati Radharani. So like this, there are beautiful, beautiful pastimes of devotees who can actually see the Prakat Leela. So a pure devotee who is related with the Lord in loving transcendental service, he can experience the presence of the Lord at every moment. And Prabhupada says it is a natural psychology that in every individual case that a person likes to hear and enjoy his personal glories enumerated by others. That is a natural instinct. And the Lord, also being an individual personality like us, is no exception to the psychology, because psychological characteristics visible in the individual souls are nothing but reflections of the same psychology in the Lord. That is a very sweet statement. Lord is also a person. He becomes very happy when you talk about him, when you call out to him. So why do we say that actually when, especially while chanting the holy names, they tell us that you should chant with attention because you're having a conversation with the Lord. Again, disclaimer, I'm not really chanting with attention, but at least we have been told, we are expected to someday chant with some attention. Why? Because the God is a person. When someone calls us by our name, immediately our attention is diverted towards them. Even if we are in a crowd and somebody calls us by name, we turn back, right? We turn and we listen to that person. Why? Because we are associating ourselves with that name. Similarly, if our name is announced somewhere and somebody tells what we are doing, immediately our attention goes there and we are listening. Oh yeah, you're talking about me. So it's a natural instinct. So if this is a natural instinct and it is there with parts and parcels, like tiny parts and parcels who are jivas like us, then why it won't be there in the all absolute Lord? That psychology of us diverting our attention to the place where we are called out or our name is being spoken is actually coming from the Lord, because the Lord also has that quality. So we individual souls, we are but reflections of the same psychology of the absolute truth. But Prabhupada says the only difference is that the Lord is the greatest personality of all absolute in all affairs. If therefore the Lord is attracted by his pure devotees chanting and his glories, there is nothing astonishing. See, sometimes what happens, what Prabhupada is trying to mention here is we devotees, right? When somebody is glorifying us, for example, if somebody is glorifying us, we love to hear simply because it is going to fan our false ego. Actually, we are not worth anything. Actually, we have not done anything. We are not worth all that glorification. Truly, what are we capable of? We are capable of doing nothing without the sanction of the Lord or without the empowerment of the Lord. So ultimately, all the glory should go to Him only. But Krishna is absolute. If when we glorify him, there is no question of it being an exaggeration or it being some excessive glorification. It is actually the 100% true when we are glorifying Krishna, because Krishna is the one who is uh, the only one qualified to accept the glorification of everybody. When somebody is glorifying us, actually those qualities we don't even possess. We are only unnecessarily taking the credit that belongs to the Lord. So it doesn't belong to us also, that credit of glorification of others. It doesn't belong to us, whatever they're glorifying us. But we take credit and we feel happy. That is our nature. But here is the Supreme Lord. All the credit goes to him. And it's genuine, it's 100% true. He's the absolute. Prabhupada is telling, since he is the absolute, he can appear himself in the picture of his glorification, the two things being identical. So Krishna is identical with his name, form, qualities, whatever you think. So 100% glorification Krishna deserves. So there is no question of exaggeration when we are glorifying Krishna. So Narada Muni, he chants the glorification of the Lord, not for his personal benefit, but because the glorifications are identical with the Lord. Narada Muni penetrates into the presence of the Lord by transcendental chanting. So some people they say this. They say that God, he also expects glorification. He also expects recognition. So what is wrong in me expecting glorification and recognition? There is something totally wrong. Why? Because we do not deserve that glorification. Because truly nothing belongs to us. It's not that the Lord is expecting you to glorify, but if you glorify, the Lord is only rewarding you. The Lord is only rewarding you with more and more mercy so that you can perfect. Just by glorifying Him, we can perfect our life by developing love for Him. So he is not getting benefited in any way. If someone is glorifying us, we are getting benefited. Why? Because it's fanning our ego. But if we are glorifying the Lord, there is no benefit for the Lord there. Yes, he recognizes and he acknowledges like any other person. But is he getting benefited? No, it is you who is getting benefited. You are getting purified just by that glorification. So it's a very nice way of Srila Prabhupada's talking about how when a devotee is glorifying the Lord at once is so merciful that he appears on the seat of the heart of the devotee. And the Lord's glories are always pleasing to hear. It is not that it's a very difficult, unha- non-interesting, cumbersome, unhappy job to glorify the Lord. It is natural. Everybody feels happiness. Even a person who's speaking about the Lord, the person who's hearing about the Lord Himself. Everybody is very, very much in bliss when the glories of the Lord are spoken. But when glories of our own qualities are spoken, maybe we are happy, somebody else is unhappy, somebody else is envious, somebody else is encouraging. Yes, 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 this person deserves. So there are different people with different reactions. But when the Lord is glorified, everybody, including the Lord, is happy. So these are his absolute qualities. Now, text 34. Etat adi atura chittanam matra स्पर्शेच्छयामुः भवसिन्धुप्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्. Translation, anyone wants to read?
Translation by Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. It is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat. The constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So here it is mentioned Bhavasindhu Plava. Bhavasindhu is the ocean of nescience and Plava is a boat. So what is Bhavasindhu Plava here? What is the Bhavasindhu Plava that is being mentioned? What is the boat to cross the ocean of
Constant
Chanting.
chant.
Yes, constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the Lord. So this is akin to a boat by which you can cross this material ocean. So we are all in this huge material ocean, and especially if you're in the middle of the ocean, just by yourself, you cannot cross the ocean. Once you're stuck in the middle of the ocean, you're in the middle, you're fallen in that water. Just by swimming, you yourself cannot cross the ocean. It is very difficult. You need a boat. You need a person to rescue. And what is that boat that rescues? Here, in this context, the boat that is going to rescue you is the chanting of the holy names. Now, this boat, Bhavasindhu Plava, you'll find this in many places in Bhagavatam. But depending on the context, the boat differs. So, in some verses, the boat is a suitable body. The body that the jiva takes is a suitable boat to cross this ocean of nescience. Because with the help of this body, we perform Navavidha Bhakti and we can cross over this ocean. Sometimes the lotus feet of the Lord is mentioned as the boat. When you take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, by the mercy of you taking shelter at the feet of the Lord, that lotus feet of the Lord becomes the boat, helps you cross this Bhavasindhu. Sometimes a devotee or a guru, the association of a guru or the shelter of a guru, the lotus feet of a guru is considered a plava, the boat. So Bhagavatam gives us many boats to cross over this ocean of nescience. In this verse, the boat identified as the chanting of the holy name. But however, if you see in our life, we are using all these boats. We are using the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. We are using the body to perform bhakti. We are using the mercy of the spiritual master. And also we are using the process, which is chanting the holy names. Okay, so like this, with this boat, most suitable boat of chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead, we can get out of this material world. Why do we want to get out of this material world? For that, Narada is telling, it is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desire of contact of the senses with their objects can cross over this ocean of nescience. Why do they want to cross over? Because it is full of cares and anxieties. As far as senses are coming or desiring to get in contact with the sense object in the material world, there is sure shot anxiety. There is always anxiety in this material world. Because there is so much anxiety and worry in this material world, that is the reason we want to cross over it. We are not happy people here. We are not happy and we want to go to a place of proper happiness. And that is the reason we need to cross. How do we cross? We cross by taking shelter of the holy names of the Lord. So here, Prabhupada, he tells in the purport. It's interesting. Prabhupada begins the purport by telling the symptom of a living being is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. That is so true, right? We cannot remain silent even for 1 second. We have to keep doing something. When Arjuna was telling, it's impossible for me to remain silent. Because the mind is very difficult to control. The mind is continuously thinking of something. We cannot really keep quiet even for a second. Even if our physical body is quiet, our mentally we are somewhere, right? So the symptom of a living being is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. That's why bhakti is actually a very good process simply because it is devotional service. There is action all the time. There is continuous action. The nature of the living entity is to be active. The nature of the living entity is to be a servant. So without service, the living entity is not in his natural state. So the very symptom of a living being is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. Either you're serving the Lord or you're serving your senses. So either way, there is some action that is going on. So Prabhupada says he must be doing something, thinking of something, talking about something, doing something. Something has to be done. Generally, in this world, materialistic people, we think about subjects that are satisfying our senses. We are talking about things that give me sense satisfaction. We are doing sensual activities so that our body is satisfied. But because we are thinking we want to satisfy our senses, what is happening? Are we really becoming happy continuously? No. We are getting into more and more entanglement and anxieties. So, this is the nature of this world, and it is called Maya, that which is not. So, that which can give them satisfaction is accepted as an object for satisfaction. That which cannot give them satisfaction is accepted as an object for satisfaction. That is what is happening in this material world. More and more, we are entangled in that which is not, which is Maya. So Narada Muni is telling that people here, we are simply frustrated in sense engagement, sense enjoyment. But however, we people, when we can take shelter of this boat, of chanting the holy names of the Lord, then we can easily cross over this ocean. So instead of chanting and talking about mundane things that are going to give pleasure to the senses, rather, if the subject matter is about chanting the glories of the Lord, then we cannot, instead of getting entangled in Maya, we can get permanent happiness. Instead of talking about politics of a dying man, one must discuss the politics administered by the Lord Himself. Instead of relishing activities of the cinema artist, one can turn his attention to the activities of the Lord and his eternal associates like the gopis and Lakshmis. The Almighty Lord, by His causeless mercy, comes to this earth. He's manifesting pastimes, He's performing activities. Why is He doing all that? He's coming here from time to time, every few years. The Lord takes an incarnation, not every few years, rather every few, from time now and then, every 5,000 or 6,000 years, or whatever it may be. But still, the Lord comes, right? 500 years ago, He came back as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, why does He have to come? He comes because of His causeless mercy so that He can perform some pastimes. And the worldly people, instead of talking about mundane things of this world, they can talk about the pastimes that is performed by the Lord. By doing so, is the Lord benefited? No, it's all the same for the Lord. But then we conditioned living entities, we become benefited. By doing so, the conditioned soul will be gradually promoted to the transcendental position and he can cross this ocean of nescience. So, Narada Muni, who is an authority, is stating from his own experience. And all that we have to do is follow in the footsteps of such great devotees who have that experience. Okay, so what is Narada telling us? He's telling this Harikatha, chanting the holy names, chanting the glories of the Lord, that is the most suitable boat. Haricharyanu Varnanam, that is the most suitable. Bhavasindu Plava, that is the greatest of all boats. Instead of engaging in sense enjoyment, rather, if these activities can be dedicated to the service of the Lord, if we can use our senses in glorifying the Lord, speaking about Him, glorifying His activities, then that itself becomes a suitable boat to cross over this ocean of nescience. And he also has something to tell us. He talks about the process of the yoga system. Let's see what he has to say about that. Because he wants to make it very clear that don't take full shelter unto the yoga system. Especially in this time and age, it is very, very important for us to understand just by chanting the holy names of the Lord, we can progress. We can see the Lord face to face and we can also develop love of God. Okay, we don't have to do any fancy yogic processes or any other fancy process. Yes, Praladananda Prabhu?
Pranam Mataji. Regarding this the talk and everything which we do on material platform. And Gramya Kada, in other words, a very nice sloka in 5th chapter which says, Na yad vachas chitrapadam hare yeso jagat pavitram praganit karhechit. Tad vayasam tirtham usanti manas. It's all
Yes.
pilgrimage for the
For
crows,
crows.
So that can give us kind of impetus not to do all this. Gramya Kada. I just wanted to share that, Mata. Hari Bol. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. And many of you must have memorized that verse as well. Yes, very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji, for adding that. Yes, we can connect to how in the previous chapters also. The same policy, Narada Muni, he told already Vyasadev. He also already told Vyasadev that there are two kinds of transcendental literatures. Sorry, there are two kinds of literatures, not transcendental. One is the literature that is very interesting for people like the crows, all the material subjects, while the other is the transcendental topics of the Supreme. So already he has given a hint. And now again, Narada Muni, he emphasizes. So just don't think about sense gratification, topics of sense gratification. You can, Prabhupada says, no one can stop the thinking, feeling, and willing or working progress. But if one wants real happiness, he must change the subject matter from mundane subjects to the activities of Krishna and his eternal associates. So nobody is asking you to stop thinking, willing, and feeling. We have to do it. We cannot remain inactive. We continue to do that, but we just change the subject matter, just shift the focus. That is all is expected. Now he tells a little bit about the yoga system as well. He says, Yamadibiryoga kamalobahato muhu mukunda sevaya yatvat tatamadhana samshamyati. Translation, Sangha.
It is true that by practicing restraint of the senses by the yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbance of the desire and lust, but this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul, for this satisfaction is the satisfaction is derived from devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So basically, we are all affected by lust. Okay. We need sense gratification. Initial stages, yes, it is true that by practicing restraint of senses, yama, niyama, all that, through the initial processes of Ashtanga Yoga, we can get a little relief from the disturbances of lust by following yama and niyam. Definitely, yes, you can develop sense control. But then that sense control itself, is it giving true happiness to the self? Is it a complete process by itself? No. It's not giving full happiness to the heart, right? It is only bhakti that can truly give satisfaction to the soul. It is only devotional service. Mukunda sevaya yadvat tata atma adha nas shamyati. So unless you do Mukunda seva, it is not going to give happiness on a practical level. Okay. So, purport. Prabhupada says, see, this yoga process, initially it aims at controlling the senses. And just by practicing all these mystic processes, see, Prabhupada is telling, by the practice of mystic processes of bodily exercise and sitting, thinking, feeling, willing, concentrating, meditating, and at last being merged into transcendence, one can control the senses. Yes, we can. This is the Ashtanga Yoga process that he's mentioning here. Yama, niyama, asan, all that, pratyahara, till you go to the point of samadhi. With all this, yes, you can control the senses. But then these senses are like venomous serpents, and the yoga is just to basically control them. On the other hand, Narada, he tells that by practicing bhakti, you can not only control your senses, okay, because basically you're shifting your focus. Instead of engaging your senses in sense gratification, like the previous verse said, you're engaging your senses in the service of the Lord. So by practicing Mukunda Seva, or the process of loving devotional service to Mukunda, not only are your senses getting controlled, but also there is true satisfaction to the self that is happening. So a better process to achieve both sense control as well as true satisfaction to the self is possible only by the process of devotional service. The senses want some engagement, Prabhupada says. To check them artificially is no check at all, because as soon as there is opportunity for enjoyment, these serpent-like senses will take advantage. There are so many instances in history. They were practicing all these heavy yoga systems and all that. But then what happened? A little distraction, the yogi falls. Like, for example, Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra, he was performing great austerities. But then, the minute he heard the tinkling bell of the Apsara Menaka, he got diverted. This was the practice that he was initially doing. But then think about Haridas Thakur. There is a comparison given. He was just chanting the holy names day in and day out. And he was, in fact, directly allured by Maya Devi herself. And of course, he was also allured by another lady, Lakshahira. Two ladies, they tried to attract Haridas Thakur. But then these women, they could not convince Haridas Thakur. Rather, they fell in the trap of Haridas Thakur. That is what happened in their case. So the whole idea is that without devotional service, neither the yoga system nor the jnana system, which is dry philosophical speculation, can be successful. Even for the yoga system or for the system of the jnana process, or even karma yoga process, whatever it is, they are dependent on bhakti. All these processes can be a subordinate process to bhakti, but they themselves are not capable of giving true satisfaction to the self. So that is the concept that is being presented here. And Vyasadeva, who's the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, he will develop all these different systems of realization, and he will talk about all of that eventually. He'll talk about the different kinds of yogis and the process that they can go through, all that. He'll talk about Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, or Bhakti Mishra Karma, Bhakti Mishra Jnana, Bhakti Mishra Yoga. So like that, so many varieties are there. Kevala Bhakti, Pradhanya Bhakti. So like that, different things he will cover. And he will tell us that just Kevala Bhakti is the best. That is pure devotional service. So I just wanted to read a little bit from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because I thought that was something interesting for us to know. Here it is. Chakravarti Pad, he mentions, though bhakti is described later as a means of liberation, three types of bhakti are seen. What are the three types of bhakti? First of all, there is Kevala Bhakti. That is one variety. The second is mixed bhakti, but bhakti being predominant, pradhanya. And mixed bhakti without the bhakti, with bhakti being secondary, guna bhava. So there are three varieties of bhakti. One is Kevala Bhakti, pure devotion. The other one is Pradhanya Bhakti. Pradhanya Bhakti means bhakti is prominent, but other processes are also there. And there is a third variety where the other processes are more prominent and bhakti is somewhat secondary, which is called as Guna Bhakti. Okay. So like this, there are three varieties, Guna Bhava Bhakti. So like this, there are three varieties of bhakti. But Kevala Bhakti is the most recommended. Okay, it is practiced by a person who's Nishkama or Ananya Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, and it gives prema as a result. Now, what about Pradhanya Bhakti? Pradhanya Bhakti means bhakti is prominent, but other elements are also there. So, Pradhanya Bhakti is classified as Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, and Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Pradhanya Bhakti can be of three types: Karma Mishra, Yoga Mishra, and Jnana Mishra. Now, these processes, they can even give liberation. But if at all, such a person who's doing Pradhanya Bhakti, he gets the association of a person in Dhasya Bhav or Shanta Bhav, then such a person, there is a chance for him to attain prema as well. Okay, but That prema is only in the mood of Aishwarya, where reverence is very prominent. But however, Kevala Bhakti, that can result in proper prema bhakti, 100% prema bhakti. And it need not be in the mood of reverential. But however, if it is pradhanya bhakti, meaning bhakti is the main element, but you're also taking aid of other processes, then you develop a little prema, but that prema can happen only if you have gotten the association of devotees who are in dhasya ras, or even for that matter, it can also produce shantarati, but that is only up to the point of Aishwarya mood, that is reverential worship of the Lord. Now, this Guna Bhakti, where Bhakti is very less and the other processes are more, that does not give much results. He says that does not reveal its own results and name. It is only an assistant of karma, jnana, yoga, and all this. This cannot, where if Bhakti is secondary, then it doesn't really help much with liberation or any other developing prema or any of that kind. So he just adds to all these different processes of bhakti. He says there is Kevala Bhakti, which is pure devotion that gives full-fledged prema. There is also bhakti, which is prominent, while the other processes like jnana, yoga, and karma are somewhat subordinate to the process of bhakti. It is called as bhakti pradhana. Bhakti is pradhan. That time, we also called it Mishra Bhakti. You can call it Yoga Mishra Bhakti or Jnana Mishra Bhakti or Karma Mishra Bhakti. Under such circumstances, generally that person can attain Shantarati. But then, if they get an association of a devotee in Dhasya Bhakti, they can also attain Prema, which is in a reverential mode. Okay, but only Kevala Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, can actually give us full-fledged love of God, especially to Lord Sri Krishna and various rasas. And of course, when it is gauna, that is, it is subordinate. When bhakti is subordinate to the other processes like karma, yoga, and jnana, then there is not much result out of it. So that's what Chakravarti Pad wants to add to this particular purport that we just read about different processes of devotional service. But ultimately, what is Narada telling Vyasadeva here? That is our focus. Narada is telling that, yeah, there are so many varieties of bhakti. But then, towards the end, Narada himself is telling, in this body, in his transcendental body, what is he doing? He's just doing Harikatha, pure devotional service, Kevala Bhakti. So he's telling, just do Kevala Bhakti. That is what is actually important and right about Kevala Bhakti in this Bhagavatam. So what Vyasadeva will do is he will build up, he'll build up the story. He'll talk about different varieties of bhakti and everything. And he'll build it up to a point where he will talk about Kevala Bhakti and the glories of Kevala Bhakti in Srimad Bhagavatam. Next, 36. So, Narada Muni is concluding pretty much. 36, 37, 38 is the conclusion of their conversation. So, let's see how Narada Muni concludes. He says, Sarvatad idam akyatam yat prishtoham त्वया नघ जन्म कर्म रहस्यं मे भवतश्चात्मतोषणम्. Translation, anyone?
Oh,
I can do that.
Vyasudeva. Oh,
Go ahead, Mataji. It's okay.
oh Vyasudeva, you are freed from all sins. Thus, I have explained my birth and activities for self-realization as you asked. All these will be conductive for your personal satisfaction.
All this will be conducive for your personal satisfaction also. Very nice. Remember, Vyasadeva, Narada said initially, he said your work is jugupsitam. If you are not satisfied with your work, how others will be satisfied reading your work? He asks all these logical questions, right? Remember. So now again, Narada Muni is telling, see, okay, now I've told you everything. You asked me, I explained everything. I have explained from my birth and activities for self-realization as you have asked. Now, not only should you write about this, meaning you should write about pure devotion, But this, whatever I told you, will be conducive for your personal satisfaction also. Now, this bhakti is going to not only be helpful for your audience, first of all, it is going to be helpful for you. So that's what Narada Muni is telling. So he says, you're anagha, you're free from all sins. So you'll be able to understand the depth of what devotional service can actually award. So let's see what Prabhupada says. Prabhupada says, the process of devotional activities from the beginning stage of transcendence is all duly explained to satisfy the inquiries of Vyasadeva. Narada explained how the seeds of devotional service were sown by transcendental association, by the Bhakti Vedantas, how they gradually developed by hearing the sages. So Narada told about his entire life, how he got Shraddha, Adav Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, how he went through these different processes. And by continuous Bhajana Kriya, he had detachment from worldliness, so much so that even as a small boy, when he received the death news of his mother, who was his only caretaker, how did he see it? Anybody remembers how he saw this death?
Mercy of the Lord.
Mercy of the Lord. He just took it as the mercy of the Lord. How much maturity of devotion. It's not just personal maturity, it is the maturity in devotion that Narada had. And at once he took the opportunity to search out for the Lord. So that was how he was so well seasoned, Narada Muni. And he went out and searched for the Lord. And because of his sincere urge, a personal interview of the Lord was granted for him. The Lord spoke to him. And it is not easy. It is not easy to see the Lord like that. It is simply not easy. But he was awarded such a thing. He is also explained how by execution of pure transcendental devotional service one can get rid of the fruitive action of accumulated work and how he transformed his material body into a spiritual one. How after after he lost the audience of the Lord also, he was continuously chanting the holy names and eventually he gets a spiritual body. And with that spiritual body, he was able to enter the kingdom of God. He got it. He's without any check. He's moving in all planetary systems and preaching the glories of the holy names of the Lord. So everything was experienced by Narada Muni. So when we hear from such an authority who has seen everything in devotional life, we can be assured that if we follow a person like this, we will also reap progress. We'll also reap the fruits of devotional service. In the Vedas, Upanishads, there is only indirect hints of all this. Nothing is directly explained there. Therefore, if we have heard from a person who has experienced it, and if Vyasadeva hearing from Narada Muni, first-hand information from Narada Muni, if Vyasadeva writes it down and gives it to everybody, then how much everybody will be benefited. So Prabhupada is telling nothing is directly explained there in the Vedas and the Upanishads. So therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of all the Vedic literatures because it has everything in it. How does it have everything in it? How did Vyasadeva put everything together? Because he heard directly from an experienced person who was Narada Muni. And he was able to write it down. So you can imagine this Bhagavatam has everything, which is not even present in the Vedas and the Upanishads. Okay. And text is 37. Now Sutta Goswami is telling the sages of Naimisharanya. Evam sambhashaya bhagavan narado vasavi sutam amantraya veenam ranayam yayau yadachaku munihi. So he says, Evam sambhashaya bhagavan. So this sambhashaya bhagavan, Sutta Goswami, he said, thus addressing Narada, here we go. Sutta Goswami said, thus addressing Vyasadeva, who is Vasavi Sutta. Vasavi Sutta means Vasavi is his mother, Satyavati, because she was the son of Vasu. Was a daughter of Vasu, sorry. So she's called as Vasavi. So now Vasavi Sutta is Vyasadeva. So Sutta Goswami said, thus addressing Vasavi Sutta, Sri Narada Muni, he took leave of him, vibrating on his veena instrument, and left to wander this world at his free will. So after hearing all this, he left, Narad Muni left, and Vyasadeva was highly inspired. Now Vyasadeva is going to put everything together in the present version of the Srimad Bhagavatam that is going to highlight devotional service. Okay. Prabhupada says in the purport, every living being is anxious for full freedom because that is his transcendental nature. But this full freedom is only obtained when you have transcendental devotional service to the Lord. In this world, we are all allured by Maya, we are illusioned by the external energy, and we are thinking we are free. But actually, we are bound up by the laws of material nature. We cannot move around like Narada Muni from one planet to the other. But however, Narada Muni is a full-fledged free soul. Prabhupada is saying full-fledged free soul. And he's wandering in every part of the universe. So how much freedom he has. So there is no reason or obligation for his traveling, and no one can stop his free movement. Similarly, this process of devotional service is also fully free. It's a very free process. It may or may not develop in a particular person even after he undergoes the detailed formulas. Similarly, the association of a devotee is also free. The process of devotional service is free. The movement of a great devotee is free, and the association of devotees is also free. But if we are fortunate to have it, we should take it. Okay, this free association, we should make full use of it. When we when we take the free association of devotees, we can undergo the process of devotional service that is free. We can undergo training in the process of devotional service that is free. And through the process of devotional service that is free, we can also become free, just like Narada Muni. Therefore, in all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot. So if devotional service is like a wheel, that pivot of the wheel is freedom. There is full freedom. Without freedom, there is no execution of devotional service. Now, what truly is freedom? Freedom is actually becoming fully dependent on the Lord in every respect. My Guru Maharaj says, true independence is declaring our total dependence on the Lord. That is true independence, right? So like that, freedom, surrender to the Lord does not mean that the devotee becomes dependent in every respect. To surrender unto the Lord through a transparent medium of the spiritual master is to attain complete freedom in life. If we really want complete freedom, we have to surrender. Just because we are surrendering, it doesn't mean we are dependent. Rather, we are becoming completely independent. That is the process of devotional service. So this purport Prabhupada mentions that just like how Narada Muni was very free to move everywhere, he was vibrating his veena and he was left to wander at his free will. Similarly, a devotee who is following in the footsteps of Narada Muni, taking his instructions to follow the process of devotional service, takes up the free association, the free process of devotional service, and he also becomes free to wander at his free will, just like Narada Muni. That is real freedom. That real freedom is nothing but declaring our complete dependence on the Lord. By declaring our complete dependence on the Lord, we become truly independent. So this was very beautifully written by Srila Prabhupada. And then verse number 38, this is concluding verse. Aho, all glory. Aho deva shirdhanyoham yatkirtim sharngadhanvaha gayan madyanidam tantriya ramyati aturam jagat. Aho devarshi dhanya. Says Aho, all glory and success. Dhanya, all success to Sri Narada Muni. Why? Because he glorifies Kirti. Kirti of whom? Sharanga Dhanva. Sharanga. It is not Saranga, it is Sharanga. There's a difference between
Mama.
There is a difference between Saranga and Sharanga. Sharanga is the bow of the Lord. It's not Saranga, it's Sharanga. And Saranga means devotees. Okay. So when we say Sharanga Dhanva, it should not be told as Saranga Dhanva. It's Sharanga Dhanva. But when we call devotees, the devotees are Saranga. That is the name of devotees who are enjoying the great pastimes of the Lord. They are called as Saranga. So here the word is Sharanga Dhanva. Sharanga Dhanvanaha Ghayan Madhyan Idam Tantrya Ramayanti Aturam. So all glory to the success, all glory and success to Sri Narad Muni. Why? Because he glorifies the activities of Sharanga Dhanva. And by doing so, he takes pleasure. He is also happy and he enlivens everyone else also. He enlivens all the distressed souls of the universe. So if he is doing that, if he is taking pleasure and enlivening everybody, then if we take the association of such a person, we will also take pleasure in ourselves and we will also enliven everyone else. That is what he's telling Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva was so despondent, he didn't have any happiness, and his work was also not giving happiness. Now he's gotten the association of Narada Muni, who is always happy within himself and giving happiness to everybody. So now our Vyasadeva is also going to become happy within himself and give happiness to everybody in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. And by reading that Srimad Bhagavatam, we are also going to become very happy. And by preaching Srimad Bhagavatam, we will also give happiness to everybody. So it's a contagious process, the Srimad Bhagavatam. All thanks to the Adi Guru, Narada Muni, who's always happy within himself. Prabhupada says, Narada plays on his instrument to glorify the transcendental activities of the Lord. And by doing so, what is he doing? He's giving relief to innumerable miserable living entities in this universe. This entire Srimad Bhagavatam is almost like a Vyasa Puja offering to Narada Muni. You see how our Vyasadeva has written the Bhagavatam. Everywhere he brings in Narada Muni. In every canto you will find Narada Muni, and how Narada Muni converted somebody to become a devotee. That is only this entire book. So he is giving pleasure to innumerable living entities. No one is happy here within this universe. Why? Because we are thinking Maya, this illusory happiness to be true happiness. So much so that this illusory happiness is present even in the hogs and dogs. The hogs, they are eating stool and they are thinking they are very, very happy. But is that true happiness? No. True happiness is there in the hearts of the devotees of the Lord. Narada Muni, in order to enlighten the miserable inhabitants, he wanders everywhere and he gives them the true happiness which is hidden in the works like Srimad Bhagavatam. His mission is to get everyone back home to Godhead. That should also be the mission of genuine devotees following in the footsteps of this great sage, Narada Muni. So with this, we complete this entire conversation. It was a set of 3 chapters. If you see right from chapter number 4 itself, from the appearance of Narada itself, chapter number 4, 5, 6, these are all connected. The whole thing was nothing but a conversation between Narada and Vyas. And Narada has made it very clear now, Vyasdev, now you get the inspiration. I've given you the seed. Now you get the inspiration, get the darshan of the Lord, and then start writing the Srimad Bhagavatam and revise it. Actually, Bhagavatam was presented in a very condensed format without proper focus on bhakti. But now our Vyasdev is going to do a good job after listening to Narada Muni's instruction. So that will be the next chapter. But today what we will do for the remaining time is we will go through a summary of the next chapter. The next chapter is 1.7, the son of Drona punished. Sounds like we are going to move to a totally different topic. But don't worry, the first 10 verses is still to do with Vyasadev's vision, okay? And how he revises the Bhagavatam. Then after the 10th or 11th verse, we will go on to the story of the son of Drona getting punished. Yes, Param Pavani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam. Mataji, Sharanga Dhanva means the person. Sharanga Dhanush.
Sharanga.
The Supreme Personality. Sharanga.
No Ra. Sharanga.
Sharanga.
We Saranga. Saranga means devotees. Sharanga.
Okay. Saranga means devotees,
Mm.
and Sharanga, which is
Sharanga.
the
Sorry to bother you like that, but I just thought it's a good exercise on the tongue. Sharanga Dhanva. See, if you see the written, I will show you.
Shiva,
I'll show you the correct trick.
Shiva, Shiva, the S in Shiva, that
Yeah,
is right, Mataji.
you can see here. Sharanga. No, there's not R-A-N-G-A. Sharanga. That's it. No R after Ra. Okay. Sharanga Dhanva. Not Sharanga. No. Sharanga.
Sharanga.
No.
Sharanga.
Sharanga Dhanva. Yeah.
And that Dhanavana means Dhanvana means who is carrying the Dhanush?
Yes, yes, yes. Dhanvana.
Gotcha, Mata.
Naha,
The means devotees.
Saranga. Saranga कैसे इनके भी devotees. Saranga.
Gotcha, Mata. Yes.
You see one verse. Forget that. Yeah, 1:8. Yeah. Saranga. Who are able to understand relish the glories of the Lord. Okay, that is Saranga. All those who sing and talk about him are called as Sarangas, or the pure devotees. Okay. There is Saranga and there is Sharanga. Sharanga is the name of the book. Okay.
Gotcha, Mataji. Thank you so much for this. This is a little tricky, but
I know. See, in our local colloquial languages, like the language that I speak also, we simply say Sarangavani. You know, there's a temple of the deity who holds the Sharanga Bhuva. He's called Sarangapani. We don't call him Shaurangapani because the colloquial language, the way we speak changes. And I've seen even in the Bengali text, Chaitanya Bhagavat also, because the language is different, Bengali. In Bengali, they don't say Shauranga Dhanvano, they say Saranga.
yeah,
Colloquially, we change the words, right? So like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mataji, thank you so much for clarifying. Hare Krishna, Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Praladanand Prabhu, you want to add something?
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji. I just wanted to add little reflection here regarding Sud Goswami saying this in 37th slok that Aivam Sambhasya Bhagwan Narado Vasvi Sutam. So I had always wondered why Satyavati is called Vasvi. I didn't know till I started attending Mahabharata lectures by another Prabhu from Vrindavan. His name is also Narad Das. So he went to very great detail in about Satyavati. I was wondering. And most of us do not know much about Satyavati. We read in Bhagavatam, just Satyavati was the daughter of a fisherman like that, but she was not. She was actually the daughter of a king known as Vasu.
Yes, it's there in Bhagavatam in the 9th canto. Yeah.
But there is like that in okay. And this great deal, her mother's name was Girika, and she was a twin with another son called Matsya. Now she was given these to fishermen in order to hide her from Asuric influence, which was kind of going to prevent avatar of Vyastev.
Right.
So this story came in, and that's why she's called Vasavi, because she's the daughter of Vasu, and her mother's name is Girika, and the brother's name is Matsya. And then there are other four brothers also, and one of them was Bruhadrath, whose son was Jarasandha. All these stories are very detailed given in the Mahabharata like that. And Mahabharata has 60 lakh works. slokas, out of which only 1 lakh is available in human society. This is what I learned all from Mahabharata. So it's very so interesting. Like I just wanted to share that Vasavi Sutra. That's why I just said. Thank you, Mata. Very well.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I just also wanted to bring I mean, of course, Mahabharata has much more details. Bhagavatam also speaks about it, 9:22:20. If you pull that verse, you see there in the purport, Satyavati was actually the daughter of Uparichara Vasu, by the woman known as Matsyagarbha. Later, Satyavati was raised by a fisherman. That's why she's called as Vasavi, because she was begotten by Uparichara Vasu.
Yes, yes. So these details are so nice in Mahabharata, Mahabharata is very fascinating. We know very little details, but this Prabhuji is bringing a lot of research on Mahabharata and like that. So that's why it's so interesting. Thank you, Mata.
Thank you so much for adding. Actually, it's so beautiful. These embellish what we learn. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gopi Mataji, so nice to have you, Mataji, on the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the wonderful class. I was just reflecting on the second last verse where it's mentioned how Narad Muni wanders freely. So I was just thinking for children or who grow up in America, devotee children, or even general American population, it's all about freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
Complete freedom. And I was thinking this verse should hopefully appeal to them that if you really want real ultimate freedom, then take shelter of Bhagavatam, and ultimately you will follow the footsteps of Narad Muni to get real freedom.
In all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot.
Be free to do, really get free to do whatever you want in the most creative way in devotional, after becoming pure devotee. So I was just,
So good. Very well said. Nice. Okay, so we have 15 minutes and I will do a crash course on crash summary on chapter 7 so that you all can get ready. I don't know if Kirtida's on the call. Let me see.
Yes, I am.
You're there. Okay, do you want to do the Thursday class? You're not sure.
It looks like not be possible.
Okay, so by the way, happy news for everyone who had been asking for an off for some time. Even yesterday when Mataji was asking, why can't you give 1 day break for Bhakti Vaibhav class? I was like, no, we are not giving break. But then their words, their desires are now going to come true. On Thursday, we'll take off, okay? So here is a quick review of chapter 7. And we'll start chapter 7 verse by verse in next Tuesday. This coming Thursday, we'll take off, okay? And we take a break and then we'll be back. The reason is both of us are not available on Thursday. So we'll take a break. I know it's an unplanned break, but it's okay. You can use that time for finishing your memorization and tests and all that. Whatever pending work you have, you can probably work on Thursday and finish. And we'll continue verse by verse of chapter 7 on next Tuesday. For now, I'll do a quick summary of chapter 7 in 10-15 minutes. Tulsi Gopi Mataji, you had something to add?
I wanted to quickly ask that if Satyavati was given to the fisherman, is there a reason that she was given to that particular fisherman? And then why was he so interested in her children becoming the king if she was not his offspring and there was really no bloodline connection?
Bloodline connection was there. So he was a grandfather, that fisherman. The Uparichara Vasu was married to this Matsyagarbha, who was the daughter of that fisherman.
Okay. Okay. He was a Nar on the planet, or he was from higher planet Vasu, and is there some that kind of connection?
Praladananda Prabhu, you should answer. I don't know Mahabharata.
Mataji, what I learned from Mahabharat lectures is that this Upachari Vasu was from demigod level, and they were trying to prevent Asuric influence on earthly kingdoms like that. Because Asuras and Devas, they are always in conflict, and they are trying to come over to earth in guise of Kshatriyas, like that. So
Okay.
this Bruhadrath, his son was, I forget his name, but he was Jarasandha, right? And he was Asuri, because he was opposed to Lord Sri Krishna. And Satyavati was actually destined to give birth to Vyasdev through Parasar. Right? And this is to protect Asuric influence happening through Satyavati. That's why Satyavati was given to this fisherman as a foster parent. And this is how she was protected until like that. After Parasar had the Vyasdev as an avatar, that's the time Parashar took Vyasdev to Himalayas, and she told her that now you can return to your parents, real parents. So that's how she went to Upchari Vasu, and that's why that kingdom was known as Chedi Raj. All right. And from Chediraj, Hastinapur was the higher kingdom. And that's how this Upchari Vasu took Satyavati to see Hastinapur. And from there, she was predicted to have, married to Santanu, like that. That's how all the stories evolving like that. And it's a very kind of very interesting whole, because I didn't know much about Satyavati, but this whole collection, all these lectures on Mahabharata, they are very detailed. How the whole plot is happening at Devasur Sangram, at Devasur affairs in the higher planets. We are just like, what do you call chess board. The earthly kingdoms and everything is arranged by Devas, and how they are in conflict with each other, like Devas and Danavas, like that. Both are cousins from Kashyps, but still they have got opposite kind of mentality. One is devotee, the other is not, like that. So all these details are giving like this much little I know. So I thought that's what it's.
Wow.
Okay, thank you.
Very interesting. In fact, there is very nice books about this available free of charge on archive archive. Mahabharat by, there is one Prabhu, his name is Purna Pragna Prabhu.
Purna Pragna Prabhu.
Purna Pragna Prabhu. He has compiled it so nicely. This Prabhu, I always praising him. And I've got a copy now, so I'm reading that also. So this Mahabharata is really interesting for those who really want to go into deep of it and find out what exactly the whole. There's this another edition by Hridayanand Goswami Maharaj, a Prabhupada disciple. He has also compiled very nice, and that also is available like that. So if you read those ones, it's very fascinating actually. Yeah, that's how it is, Mata. Very well. Thank you.
This book, Purna Pragna Prabhu, this book is like a pillow.
It's a big one. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'll do the quick summary and we can be done quickly. I won't get into too many details of the purport and all because we'll go verse by verse. So the title of this chapter is The Son of Drona Punished, and it takes off from the previous chapter where Narada Muni has already spoken to Vyasadeva. And this Shaunaka Rishi asks Suta Goswami. So after Narada spoke so much to Vyasadeva, what did Vyasadeva do? Did he recompile the Bhagavatam? So for that, Suta Goswami says he sat on the western bank of the Saraswati River where his cottage is under the Badri tree, and he touched water for purification. He fixes his mind in Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranhite Amale. So he fixes his mind in Bhakti Yoga, and he had the darshan of the Supreme Lord along with his external energy, which was under full control. And the word mentioned is he was able to see Purusham Purnam, the Supreme Lord in complete, which means the Bhagavan feature of the Lord who has so many multifarious expansions who has his internal energy, who has his paraphernalia, who has everything. That is Purusham Purnam. He's the source of everything. So he was able to say Purusham Purnam, Purusha, along with his internal energy, as well as the Maya Tad Apashrayam. He could see that Maya was very shy and standing at the back, taking shelter of him. I mean, by his side. So he could see everything. Now, why did he have to see Maya? That is the question. The reason he had to see Maya is unless you see the disease, you will not see the cure. So he could understand that the living entities, we were affected by the external energy of the Lord and we were suffering this disease of being entangled in Maya. So we have to, Vayasdev first had to see the disease of the living entities. And to see the cure, to see a proper cure, he could also see that bhakti was the only cure possible for this disease. He also saw the suffering conditioned souls. Because of their suffering, they were illusioned by external energy, and the remedial measure suggested is that it can be mitigated only by bhakti yoga. So, for that reason, Vyasadeva, he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is a very, some of these verses we have to memorize, especially the first few verses, I believe. I don't remember now, but these are very famous verses. Some of the verses that is there within the first 6 verses, they are quite famous. So anyway, so Vyasadeva, he compiles the Srimad Bhagavatam, and just by giving oral reception of this one scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, what happens? Bhakti instantly sprouts in our heart and it extinguishes the lamentation, illusion, fear, everything. This is also a famous verse. Yasyam vai suyamananam Krishne paramapurushe. So like that, it extinguishes all the fire that one may have, fire of material existence. So now Vyasadeva, he revised the version of the Srimad Bhagavatam and he taught it to his son Shukadev Goswami. So when this was mentioned, Shanak Rishi asked Sut Goswami, why should he teach Shukadev Goswami? What Shukadev Goswami doesn't know? Shukadev Goswami is already in the path of self-realization. He was indifferent to everything and he was Atma Ram. He was a satisfied Muni. Why does he have to take the trouble to learn Srimad Bhagavatam? So that is when Sutta Goswami, he recites the famous Atmaram verse, another very famous verse, Atma Ramascha Munayo, which I think is there for memorization, which says, even liberated souls are attracted to the transcendental qualities of Lord Hari, Ittam Bhuto Guno Harihi. So all the transcendental qualities of Lord Hari is attractive to everyone, even to a liberated person. And they develop desire to render unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So then he says Shukdev Goswami was very dear to the Lord and he becomes absorbed in the qualities of Krishna and he studied the Srimad Bhagavatam under his father. So this question was answered by our speaker Sut Goswami when Shaunakadi Rishi is asked, why should Shukdev Goswami learn the Srimad Bhagavatam from his father? Now, next, in the earlier time itself, 3 questions were asked. One is the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. That entire history has been told now. The other 2 questions were about the life of Parikshit Maharaj and how Shukdev Goswami met Parikshit Maharaj. So now to talk about the life of Parikshit Maharaj, he had to first talk about the situation when Parikshit Maharaj was in the womb of his mother. To talk about Parikshit Maharaj's situation in the womb of his mother, he had to talk about what led to the events of that womb being attacked. Okay, who attacked that womb, how that womb was protected. So to talk about that, he had to talk about what just happened before the womb was attacked. There was another attack. Who did that attack? That attack was done by the son of Drona Sutta, who's none other than Ashwatthama. What did Ashwatthama do? Ashwatthama, he tried to kill the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi. And when Duryodhan was lying down with his thigh broken, just because he thought it's going to please his master, Duryodhan. But then the act that he did, killing sleeping children, was very, very abominable. And it was not even approved by his master, Duryodhan. So when the 5 children of the Pandavas were killed by Ashwatthama. At that time, Draupadi, she cried in distress, seeing that her children were killed. And Arjun, who was shocked to see this, he vowed, he said, I will kill that Brahmana, that is Ashwatthama, who had killed your 5 sons, and I will wipe your tears. Then, after burning your sons' bodies, you can take bath standing on his head. So, this is a vow that Arjun takes. So, guided by Krishna as his charioteer, this is the grand introduction to Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the first time Krishna appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And how does he appear? He appears as Arjuna Mitra Sutta. That means he appears as a simple charioteer, servant, a simple servant of Arjun. Arjun, of course, he's a Mitra, he's a friend, but he's also a Suta, meaning he's driving the chariot. He's appearing as a simple charioteer of his dear friend Arjun. So guided by his dear friend and charioteer Krishna, Arjun equipped himself with an armor and weapons, and he goes to chase out for Ashwatthama. Seeing that Arjun is coming, chasing him, Ashwatthama started running in fear, and he thought that he's going to die. So not knowing how to protect himself, he releases a Brahmastra. However, Ashwatthama doesn't know how to retract the Brahmastra, which can become very deadly. And because of the release of the Brahmastra, there was a glaring light. Everybody's life was in danger. And whenever everyone is in danger, what do? They call out to Krishna. So he called out, Arjun called out, Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayankara Tvam Eko Dahyamananam Apavargo Asi Samshrute. So he calls out to Krishna, you're Mahabhaha, you are the original person, you are Abhaktanam Abhayankara. So like that, he glorifies him in various ways. The prayers of Arjun is mentioned. And he calls him all merciful. He tells you descend to remove the burden of the world. You're dedicated to your devotees. And then finally says, I really don't understand the reason for such a bright effulgence in the sky. It looks deadly. So please tell me what I should do. What is the reason? That's when Krishna says, the cause of this is the act of Ashwatthama. He has released the Brahmastra. The solution is that you should release another Brahmastra that can counteract it and retract both. That is the only way we can stop the problem. Hearing this, Arjun, he sips water and he circumambulates Krishna and he releases the Brahmastra from his side. And the two Brahmastras, they collide with each other, and then Arjun is able to retract both. Once he's retracted both, he goes and he dexterously arrests Ashwatthama, binds him like an animal, and he wants to take him in front of Draupadi. Lord Krishna's lotus-like eyes were looking angry. Even when it was looking like it was angry, it was still very beautiful like lotus. It was cool like lotus. That is Krishna's beauty. Anyway, so now Krishna, he tells Arjun, you should not show mercy to him now that you have arrested him. He's only a Brahma Bandhu. He's not a real Brahmana because he's not shown the qualities of a Brahman. So he's only a Brahma Bandhu. Why? Because he killed innocent children during their sleep. He is an aggressor, so he must be killed. He violated the codes of religious warfare. He killed people. Generally, it is said that you may not kill one who's careless, intoxicated, insane, one who's sleeping, one is a boy, if one is a woman, if one is foolish, or one who has surrendered, one who is without a rati, viratham, who doesn't have a ratha, or one who's fearful of his enemy. Such a person should not be killed by a person who knows religion. So he has done that. He has killed children who are sleeping. That is terrible. That's a terrible act, that too in the night. So he says he is fit to be killed. He is having his existence as at the cost of the life of others. So for his own well-being, sometimes a murderer has to be hanged by the government for his own well-being, because that way in the next life he can start fresh instead of reaping the karma of what he has done. So all this explanation will be there in the purport. You can read it later. But anyway, so Krishna says that this person must be killed. And he says that you have promised Draupadi you will bring his head. He's a murderer of your family and he has dissatisfied his master Duryodhan and he's nothing but the burnt remnants of his family. So you should kill him immediately. So when Krishna was telling this, he was testing Arjun. He was testing Arjun if Arjun knew what dharma was. And in spite of Krishna's encouragement to Arjun to go and kill Ashwatthama, Arjun did not like the idea of killing Ashwatthama. And of course, he takes Ashwatthama bound by ropes and he presents him in front of Draupadi. Now, Draupadi, she had a Vama Swabhava, the gentle nature of a woman, and she showed respects to him because he was a Brahmana. And she gave her arguments why Ashwatthama should not be killed. So far, Krishna said he has to be killed, but Draupadi, she gives 5 or 6 arguments saying that why Ashwatthama should not be killed. She says that he's a Brahmana and moreover, he's the son of your spiritual master. By Dronacharya's mercy, you learn the spiritual art. Drona is represented by his son, Ashwatthama. Moreover, Kripi is still living. She should not feel the pain of the loss of her son like how I am feeling the pain. So she says, you should not cause pain to a respectable order like a Brahmana, and don't make the devoted wife of Dronacharya cry like me. And moreover, if a Kshatriya offends the Brahminical order, then everybody is doomed. So like this, Draupadi, she gives different reasons why this Ashwatthama should not be killed. And when Draupadi gave these very nice reasons, of course, Yudhishthir Maharaj, he supports the arguments of Draupadi. Nakula, Sahadev, Satyaki, Arjun, Krishna, the ladies, everybody, they all accepted and agreed with Yudhishthir. But then there is one person who's not obviously going to accept all these reasoning. That is going to be our Bhima. Always there is a problem here. Bhima already has a different idea. So Bhima is very angry and he disagrees with all of them and he recommends killing the culprit. And hearing the words of both Bhima and Draupadi, what happens? 2 parties are there now. Draupadi's party and Bhima. He's Bhima Sen. He's a Sena by himself, right? So he's Bhima Sen and Draupadi on one side. Draupadi had gathered a lot of support on her side where everybody was telling, yeah, whatever Draupadi is telling is right. So there were 2 parties, and hearing these 2 arguments from both parties, Krishna had to push them off. You know, sometimes when 2 parties are fighting, a person has to go and say, move away, move away. So like that, Krishna takes his Chaturbhuja form. This is a very beautiful moment. And Krishna displays his 4-armed form and he pushes away the 2 parties and he tells them, stop fighting. And then to prevent both of them from fighting, Krishna manifested 2 other arms and he separated them. And he says, yes, he's a Brahma Bandhu. As a Brahma Bandhu, he should not be killed. But if he's an aggressor, he has to be killed. Now, Krishna's words, they have multiple layers of meanings, and only a devotee can understand what Krishna really wants us to do. So Krishna says, fulfill your promise, Arjuna, to Draupadi and satisfy Bhima and me. So he gives him a tough task. He tells you have to satisfy everybody now. He is a Brahma Bandhu, he should be killed. But then he's an aggressor. He's a Brahma Bandhu, he should not be killed. But then he's an aggressor, so he should be killed. Now your business is to fulfill the promise of Draupadi, satisfy Bhima and also satisfy me. So you have a tough task in hand. And then Arjuna, he's able to understand the contradictory orders of the Lord. And he understands that Ashwatthama should be punished in a way that is equivalent to his death. So the prescribed punishments for a Brahma Bandhu is not killing, but rather cutting his hair, depriving him of his wealth, depriving him of his residence. So what did he do? He took away that money that was there in the forehead of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama already lost his luster because of Balya Hatya, Bhala Hatya, that is, he killed children. So he lost his luster. That's a very terrible, heinous deed. And one loses all his luster just by that activity. But now, because the jewel was removed from his forehead, he also lost his strength. Now, after punishing him, punishing him by removing his money, he was unbound and he was allowed to go. So after he was allowed to go, then the Pandavas, they lamented along with Draupadi. They were overwhelmed with grief because their children had died, and they performed the proper rituals for their dead relatives. So this is what we will see in the next class. I will stop here. So again, Thursday, no class, and Tuesday, next week, we will start with the first verse. Maybe Mataji will go up till Atmaram, I don't know. It's a lot of content to finish. Maybe she will do first 7 verses or first 10 verses, and then we can on Tuesday, and then we'll progress on Thursday. Okay. Okay. That's it for today. Now, someone raised hand.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for the wonderful class, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Okay. I think the person who raised hand is not there now. Okay, so we can end here then. If there is no other question, comments, or realizations.
Now, only one thing in your on summarize. You said Ashwatthama already lost his luster and strength. Then how was it that he was able to again release Brahmastra towards Parishit, Mataji?
Yeah, he just lost his physical strength and luster, but he can still release another astra. He didn't.
Oh, that is a different concept.
He has learned the mantra to chant and release something. He's doing it again. That's all. See, his intense, revengeful attitude has not died. Yeah, you may lose something, but you might be still angry with the opposite party and you might still want to take revenge. That doesn't stop you from taking revenge, right?
Or despite that, he's lost everything and very weak, he was able to institute the very hard weapon that is Brahmastra, right, Mataji? I used to always think about it, so I asked. So this man is already gone and totally dead, and then he is able to do Brahmastra means he should have energy even to release it. Some kind of, they say the spiritual energy should be there. This man is still able to do. I used to think so. I just asked you, Mataji.
Yeah, many people they've asked. Yeah, I agree with you, Mataji. It's a very valid question. But that's how the storyline is. Yes, he did lose his strength because of that money that
Okay.
yeah, that was
Perhaps.
still he has.
Perhaps his father is still around and helping him to do that. I used to think because he's so fond of his son. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Another piece of information, Mata, regarding
Yeah.
Aswatthama. Aswatthama, why was he named Aswatthama? Aswa means horse. Right?
Oh.
So what I learned was that during Samudra Manthan, 14 horses were produced, and one of them was Uchchaisrava. Right?
Yeah.
And this, when Aswatthama was born, he sounded like a horse. His cry was like that. So Dronacharya and whoever gave him the name after that Uchchaisrava as Aswatthama, like that. That's what also I learned. I didn't know about that. Okay, thank you, Mat.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Thank you. Yes, Divyanki?
Hey Krishna Mataji and Pranams. Thank you so much for the very beautiful class. Mataji, that while you were giving the summary of chapter 7, it was mentioned that Bhagavatam was revised, and I kind of recollect you or Kirtida Mataji covering this in the beginning, also saying that Bhagavatam was compiled and then again revised. But I don't remember the exact thing that you had shared. But do you mind repeating that, like what Vyasadeva had originally compiled?
It was a very, Chakravarti Pad mentions it was a very concise version of the Bhagavatam without enough focus on the details of bhakti. Now that Narada Muni had inspired him enough, he had to revise the contents and make it the version that we are reading now. Of course, it was embellished with the mouth of Shukdev Goswami's realizations and also the conversation between Sutta and the sages of Naimisharanya. So all this together, the final version that we get is like an embellished version through different layers and different, levels of realizations. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji,
Mataji, one more.
Version
Oh,
3.
sorry, Mataji.
Huh?
Sorry, what were you saying, Mataji? I missed that.
It's multiple versions, version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that.
Mataji, I had one more question, not related to today's class, but related to the exam. Now that we are entering chapter 7 and unit 1 ends with chapter 9.
Kirtida, is it chapter 9 and 10?
I don't remember exactly. I think so it's chapter 9 only.
Okay. Yeah. Kunti Maharani prayer and Bhishma. Oh, no, Ray. Yeah, 9, you're right. Because 10 is departure to Dwaraka, na? That's a different content altogether. So, Bhishma Dev, yeah, you're right. End of passing away of Bhishma Dev. That will be the last chapter, and then we'll do the exam. 9th chapter after 9th.
So before, and do we have any date for the shloka test, Mataji? the second set of shlokas.
Do it now. Do it before we start the chapter.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah, we'll come up with a date. Yeah, before we start the ninth chapter, by the end of eighth chapter, if you start in the shlokas, it'll be good.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay. Tulsi Gopi Mataji.
Mataji, I was wondering, like, two things. One is to be able to, for the power to be able to let go and forgive and tolerate, of or tolerance of Draupadi Devi. And of course, it will be discussed in detail next few classes, but it's probably like I always feel that so many years in KC, still some things I'm able to let go and some things I'm not able to. And I feel like it's proportionate to the quality of my bhakti I'm doing or some semblance of bhakti. I just cannot let go of some things, and it just wastes my time because I'm spending that energy and time feeling so hurt and resentful and unable to accept some things. And then sometimes when the quality of my thing improves, I'm able to do after some time again those things which I could let go, again they start bothering me. How to deal with this where
Yeah.
you cannot complete?
That's the very nature of this material world, and our affected qualities are entanglement in Maya. Yes, but then our focus, like you see, everybody, we all have this problem. I too have this problem. I can't let go of certain things. I temporarily let go of it, but then I go back to it. See, it's nature, it's human nature. But yeah, with sufficient practice and with devotional maturity, we can hope and pray someday it happens where we all blossom to become true devotees without holding on to anything more. We can only pray and strive, Mataji. But I'm sure all of us are on the same boat. We are struggling, but that is the nature of this world. That is the nature of our qualities. Mm. But let's hope, Mataji. At least we can take inspiration from examples like Draupadi and even Narad Muni for that matter, or so many great Vaishnavas who have shown by example and try to imbibe, take them as our inspiration. Yeah.
And the other question I was wondering, like, how come Duryodhan was okay to approve all the things he did, poisoning a child, burning people, sleeping people alive, trying to burn them to death, in the Lakshagre episode. But now all of a sudden, someone else does something wrong, you don't approve, you feel that was horrible and everything. So, how to make sure this hypocrisy is not in us? That, oh, if others do something, it feels really big, but when we do something wrong, we have excuse that to forgive ourselves, like some sort. I don't want, I hate to, I'm always afraid of being in that trap, that how I should give benefit to others and be able to forgive them of their wrongdoings, and and take my own wrongdoings more seriously, and not the other way where I internally disapprove of someone. And if I do something, how can we not be a Duryodhan, a mini Duryodhan in our own world?
So, of course, like now there are two parts to this. First part is in the case of Duryodhan, Duryodhan did approve of Ashwatthama. Prabhupada writes in the purport because the entire dynasty is now going to get vanquished, right? Like everybody is now going to be eliminated. But Kuru dynasty itself will be wiped out. That was one of the reasons why, because he also belongs to the Kuru dynasty. And if the Kuru dynasty, there are no survivors in the Kuru dynasty, then the lineage itself is gone. So he was thinking in those terms. But anyway, but still the attitude is still there in us, where if I do something, it's fine and I can excuse myself. But if someone else does it, it's so big in my eyes. I catch myself doing that every day, Mataji, and I feel so ashamed. If I do, I can excuse myself. If someone else does it, I'm like, why? So, and I think it's a big deal. Yeah, I think introspection is the only way, at least we can silence our mind and our thoughts. Maybe we are not voicing it out elsewhere, but then it's happening in the back of our mind every day. So silencing our thoughts by self-guided introspection, that really helps. And we can always take inspiration from our spiritual masters or great Vaishnavas who have shown by example. And when we read scriptures, that is what we're supposed to do, right? We are supposed to try to apply those lessons in our life. Yes, our natural instinct is to be that way, but we have to take a little help from all these examples and tell ourselves, no, first we have to train ourselves. Every day, some mind counseling, self-counseling should happen. And eventually, someday, I believe by Krishna's mercy, we can even pray to Krishna. That is a beautiful way, I feel. If we can pray to Krishna, I have this terrible, terrible quality, so please help me with it. We don't have to go tell anyone also. Just pray to our deity at home. Our deity will reciprocate somehow. So that is something that has worked for me sometimes when I'm in catching myself doing terrible things, at least on the mind level. I go and pray to Krishna sometimes, not every time, but sometimes. I don't want to be like this. I want to be a better person. Krishna helps, Mataji. We can try.
Okay, thank you so much, Mataji.
Yeah, but at least being aware. See, that itself is a great quality. In your case, you're telling you're aware and you don't want to, you're striving. That is the first step. You have taken the first step. That's all matters. Yeah, and I know you, so I know you're extremely nice. So by nature, you wouldn't want to continue, even if it's on your mind level. You wouldn't want to continue in action. So yes, we can take help of Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
In my old jeans and the dog to the
Padmini Mataji, did you say something?
No, Mataji, that's a crosstalk. So, I'm sorry, I was just listening to it so intensely. I forgot. Thank you very much for that wonderful class, Mataji.
Thank you.
And this advice, last advice you gave was really mind blowing for me. Is that bhakti is for me is very difficult, and I'm trying my best. Perhaps we have to seek the help of our own deity at home very often, even if you're not able to go to the temple. That's very nice advice. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, I mean, it works.
Yeah, we need assurance from devotees like you to say that it works, because many times we lose faith in that. Oh, yeah, because he's so familiar with us, and then we can. I don't know how much it works, so we have to go to the temple and pray. That kind of the concept has been inculcated in us. So when you said that, it was very soothing. So we need not always be traveling like 30 kilometers away, and we can sit at home and meditate on him and try to remove the anarthas that we are developing over the course of time.
Very true, Mataji. In fact,
Thanks.
in Bhagavatam itself, that is the solution given. How do you remove the anarthas in the heart? Is by meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord.
Exactly, Mataji.
That is the solution in Bhagavatam right there. Yes. Yeah. We need to be
Hare
a
Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gopi Mataji is saying, we need to be a prayerer. Guru Maharaj also says, right? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we can end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to all the assembled devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam.